It is wild to think about, but tossing just one disposable drink cup into the trash can actually hide 5 completely separate disposal decisions.
It really does. I mean, you look at your hand and think you are just holding one simple item.
Right, but we are actually looking at a component inventory here, separating that single cup into a plastic cup, a lid, a straw, a paper sleeve, and a printed label.
Yeah, that is 5 different materials basically going to 5 different places.
And by the end of this deep dive, you will have a reusable GPT web prompt and a local source-linked recycling decision card to handle all of it.
Which is so important because treating this object as a single unified thing is exactly what causes AI to fail.
Exactly. Breaking everyday objects down into components prevents AI hallucination because we stop the vision model from guessing the whole.
Right, we force it to evaluate the distinct physical parts.
You're watching AI Everyday Lab, where we turn everyday AI questions into steps you can check.
So let us get right into chapter 1, which is, well, we call it See Before You Guess.
Yeah, see, before you guess, we need to start here because there is this massive trap that basically everyone falls into the minute they try to use AI for, daily household tasks.
Oh, absolutely.
Picture this, right? You finish your iced coffee, you look at the cup, and you aren't sure which bin it goes in. So you snap a quick photo with your phone.
Like everyone does.
Right. You upload that photo into the chat window and you just type this incredibly broad, open-ended question like, how do I recycle this?
Which, I mean, it is a completely understandable human impulse, but it is incredibly dangerous from a data processing standpoint.
How so?
Well, when you upload a photo and ask that broad question, you are fundamentally misunderstanding how an AI vision model actually works.
Right, you assume it just knows.
Exactly. You are forcing the system to guess the chemical and material composition of an object based entirely on, surface-level pixelated appearances.
So it is just looking at the pixels.
Yeah, you are blending what the AI can objectively mathematically see with what it statistically assumes.
And what it assumes is just based on this massive soup of internet data, which is honestly rarely accurate for your specific situation.
Totally.
But there is another layer to this before we even get to the material science, and that is the privacy aspect.
Oh, the privacy risks are immense, and people overlook them constantly.
Right. People just blindly take photos of their desks or their kitchen counters or the floor of their car just to figure out how to recycle a coffee cup.
And AI vision models ingest the entire frame.
Everything in the shot.
Everything. If you take a picture of a cup sitting on your kitchen island, the AI is also processing the piece of mail sitting behind it, the prescription bottle to the left, maybe a receipt from your grocery run.
Or like reflections in a window in the background.
Exactly. And if you upload that to a cloud-based server, you are potentially leaking highly sensitive, personally identifiable information.
All just to figure out where to put a piece of plastic.
Right. It is a huge risk for a very minor convenience.
So our first step to fix this, our proof of concept for this workflow, is a 5-row component inventory. Right. To test this, we generated this inventory by uploading a carefully sanitized, closely cropped photograph of a package to the GPT website.
Which is key.
We made absolutely sure there was no background, no faces, no mail, no reflections, just the object itself on a totally blank surface.
And that sanitization step leads directly to the core mechanism we need to understand here, which is the absolute necessity of separating vision from inference.
Right, keeping what it sees separate from what it guesses.
Yes. We have to understand what a convolutional neural network, the architecture behind these vision models, is actually doing.
Okay, lay it on us.
They are essentially incredible edge detection engines. They analyze contrasts in pixels to recognize shape.
So they see the outline.
Exactly. They can look at an image and say, with remarkably high statistical confidence, the geometry here indicates a cylindrical vessel, or that is a flexible tubular object like a straw.
Right, they know the geometry.
Right.
But geometry is not chemistry.
Bingo! They are terrible at performing chemical analysis via pixels because a camera is not a mass spectrometer.
I mean, that makes total sense.
Let us take a clear cup. To human eyes and to an AI camera, a clear cup looks like a clear cup.
Right.
But materially, it could be PE plastic, which is, highly recyclable.
I had the good stuff.
Or it could be PLA bioplastic, which is made from cornstarch. Or it could be glass. The AI cannot see the polymer chains.
Right.
It cannot feel the weight or the density or the thermal conductivity of the object.
So if you cannot see the molecules, how do we actually use it?
Well, by structuring your prompt to strictly constrain the AI, you have to ask the GPT only to inventory the visible components,
Okay.
and you must explicitly command it to label unknown materials as unknown.
That is a great trick.
By doing that, you draw a hard boundary. You separate the objective reality of what the camera actually sees from the algorithmic hallucination of what the model might guess.
So you are basically telling the AI, acknowledge that this is a clear cup, but do not pretend you know what kind of clear material it is. Okay, but I have to push back a little here because this is the first thing that came to my mind when we started looking at the sources.
Okay, go for it.
Why cannot the AI just zoom in and read those little recycling triangles?
Ah,
We all know them, right? The little chasing arrows with the numbers 1 through 7 inside.
yeah, the rhythm identification codes.
Right. So if I take a high-resolution photo with my smartphone, and smartphones have incredible macro lenses these days, shouldn't the AI vision just, read the code, cross-reference it, and know exactly what the polymer is?
It is a totally logical question, but the physical reality of how packaging is manufactured makes that virtually impossible in a casual, everyday photograph.
Why is that?
Well, to understand why, we have to look at the evidence from the Taiwan Food and Agricultural Import Regulations.
Right, commonly known as the FAIRS report.
Exactly. This report clearly outlines the strict labeling requirements for the Taiwanese market, which are enforced by the Environmental Protection Administration.
The rules that basically dictate how products have to be marked before they can even be sold.
Right. Now, the Society of Plastics Industry, the SPI, created those resin identification codes.
The numbers 1 through 7.
Yeah, the numbers inside the triangles. And yes, they are legally required, but, and this is the crucial mechanical limitation, they are almost always embossed on the very bottom of the container.
The bottom. So if the cup is just sitting there on the table.
You cannot see it. Think about the physics of injection molding for a second.
Okay.
When a plastic cup is manufactured, the plastic is injected into a mold. The easiest, most structurally sound place to put a mandatory permanent identification mark without, compromising the aesthetics or the structural integrity of the thin sidewalls.
Is the thicker plastic at the base.
Right, near the injection gate.
Wow. Okay, so you literally have to flip the cup completely upside down to see those numbers.
Exactly. And let us think about the context of the user here. If you have an iced coffee in that cup, you aren't turning it upside down to take a picture.
No, it would spill everywhere.
Right. Or if the cup is just sitting upright on your desk in the photo, the AI literally cannot see the bottom.
Because it is physically obscured by the geometry of the object and the angle of the camera.
Exactly. Therefore, if the AI cannot see the bottom, it has absolutely no business guessing if the material is PET, which is code 1, or something entirely different.
And this gets into a whole other layer of complexity, especially when we talk about the other category in the FAIRS report, code 7.
Oh, man. Code 7 is the Wild West of plastics.
Seriously.
It is the catch-all category for other materials, and right now the most critical material falling into Category 7 is PLA, polylactic acid.
Which is the bioplastic, right? The stuff that is usually made from fermented plant starch, like corn or cassava or sugarcane.
Yes.
And to the naked eye, it looks exactly like regular petroleum-based plastic.
It is visually identical, but
Yeah.
chemically, its end-of-life process is entirely different.
Because it needs to be composted, right?
Exactly. Under the FAIRS regulations, if a material is a bioplastic falling under Category 7, the specific English acronym like PLA, PHA, or PHB must be printed explicitly below the SPI code number 7.
So it is a two-part identification. You need the number 7 and you need the letters PLA underneath it.
Yes, and why does this matter so much? Because if a PLA cup gets thrown into a batch of peat plastic recycling, it acts as a contaminant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Peat is designed to be melted down and reformed. PLA is designed to be broken down in an industrial composting facility at very, very high temperatures.
So if you mix them up.
The PLA melts at a different temperature and ruins the structural integrity of the entire recycled PE batch. A whole bale of recycled plastic can become useless because of a few PLA cups.
So if the AI vision model cannot see the bottom of the cup, it cannot see the 7, and it cannot see the acronym PLA.
Right.
Therefore, it has absolutely no business guessing whether it is looking at a highly recyclable PKey code 1 cup or a PLA code 7 bioplastic cup that requires industrial composting. If it guesses wrong, it contributes to contaminating the entire recycling stream.
And that visual ambiguity is only getting worse, honestly, because of how fast the retail landscape is changing.
Yes, I was looking at the Family Mart sustainability report while prepping for this deep dive, And it honestly blew my mind.
It is crazy stuff.
We are seeing this massive industry-wide push to eliminate traditional plastics, which on a macro level is fantastic for the environment.
Oh, absolutely.
But on a micro level, for our AI workflows, it makes visual identification an absolute nightmare.
It completely scrambles the visual cues that we as humans, and by extension, the AI models trained on human data have relied on for decades.
Right. For instance, look at what Family Mart did in late 2023. They completely overhauled their packaging for soup bowls.
Oh, the flat film seals?
Yes. They transitioned to using flat film seals. Instead of having a rigid, hard plastic dome lid that snaps onto the top of the bowl, they use a machine to heat seal a thin, flat piece of film across the top.
Which is a brilliant way to cut down on material.
It is. This single change was specifically designed to save the massive amount of plastic that went into those hardcovers.
It is an incredible reduction in material volume.
It really is. But they didn't stop there. They also introduced biodegradable plant fiber bowls and plates to replace the traditional plastic bases.
Right, swapping out the plastic entirely.
Yeah. Through these kinds of shape and material changes, Family Mart reduced their plastic packaging material consumption by over 400 metric tons in 2023 alone.
Wow.
400 metric tons of plastic just erased from the supply chain.
Which is a monumental achievement in sustainability, but it perfectly illustrates the mechanism of why AI vision fails if left unchecked.
Because shapes no longer equal materials.
Exactly. Let us say you buy one of these new soups, you finish it, you take a photo of the bowl, and you ask the AI, how do I recycle this bowl?
Okay.
The AI's vision model recognizes the geometry. It maps the contours and says, this matches the thousands of images of standard plastic takeout bowls in my training data.
So it remembers that most takeout bowls historically are made of polypropylene.
Right, so it confidently tells you to wash it out and put it in the plastics recycling bin.
Entirely missing the fact that it is a brand new plant fiber product.
Yeah.
Likely made from bagasse or bamboo pulp, which shouldn't go in with rigid plastics at all.
And this is the danger of inference. The AI connects a recognized shape with an outdated statistical probability of material composition.
It makes a leap.
A huge leap. It provides a confident, plausible, yet factually incorrect and environmentally damaging answer.
Which brings us to the action you need to take as a user. This is your first viewer decision value. Before you even open the GPT website, redact your photos.
So important.
Make absolutely sure there are no sensitive details like faces, addresses, or private receipts anywhere in the background. Frame the shot tightly on the object.
Right.
Then command the AI to lift only the visible parts, and you must manually verify that generated list of visible components.
Yeah, you have to check its work.
If the AI outputs a list that says lid, cup, and straw, look at your physical object and confirm that is actually what is in the photo.
That is the essential first step. You are establishing a grounded, verified physical reality before you ask the AI for any actionable advice. You are basically building a foundation of truth.
All right, so we have our sanitized, verified inventory. We know exactly what parts we are dealing with. That brings us to Chapter 2, which is search the rule, not the memory.
This is where things get really interesting.
Because once you know what the object is, the next problem is figuring out how language models actually retrieve the information on what to do with it.
And this is where we have to talk about the fundamental architecture of large language models, or LLMs.
Let us say you have your separated plastic lid. If you just open a standard chat interface and ask a standard language model, how do I recycle a plastic lid?
Well,
It is going to rely entirely on its pre-training data memory.
right, the stuff it was trained on months or years ago.
Yeah, it is going to search through the billions of parameters it learned during training, and it is basically going to give you a statistical average answer based on global data.
Which is a severe limitation when dealing with physical infrastructure.
Why?
Because LLMs synthesize vast amounts of text to predict the most likely next word in a sequence. They are essentially cultural blenders.
Cultural blenders, I like that.
If you ask a generic recycling question, the most likely next word is derived from a blend of environmental policies from California, waste management protocols from Germany, and generalized best practices from global NGOs.
So you get this mishmash of rules.
Exactly. You might get an answer that sounds incredibly authoritative, but it usually ends with a generic caveat like, always check your local listings.
Which is so frustrating. It is not going to give you the specific legally binding law for the exact street corner you were standing on.
And that is the problem. The average global recycling rule for a plastic lid is completely irrelevant if your local municipal waste management facility uses a different sorting technology. Recycling is fundamentally localized. It is not governed by some global treaty. It is governed by the specific contracts your city has with specific waste processing plants and what machines those plants happen to have installed.
Right. Which brings us to our second proof of concept for this workflow. When you build this prompt, you cannot let the AI rely on its memory.
No, absolutely not.
You must demand that the AI places an official, clickable source link right beside each component in its output.
The mechanism here is vital to understand. By explicitly instructing the AI to use its search function like ChatGPT search, you are forcing it to step outside its static training memory.
You are pushing it to the live web.
Yes, you are initiating a process called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAID. You are commanding it to actively browse the live internet, look up current local guidelines, for example, specifically targeting the Taiwan Ministry of Environment or specific city environmental protection bureaus, and read those documents before it answers.
This completely shifts the AI's behavior from, hallucinating a statistically plausible answer to reporting on a newly retrieved document. I like to think of it like the legal system.
How so?
Well, asking an LLM static memory is like asking a federal Supreme Court judge about a parking ticket you got outside your house.
Okay, I see where you're going.
That judge might know incredibly broad legal theories about property and vehicular law, but they do not know the specific alternate side street sweeping parking rules on your specific residential street.
Right, they don't know the local code.
Exactly. Asking the AI to use search to look up your local municipality is like asking the local sheriff or the meter maid. The local rules are what actually dictate whether your trash gets collected or whether you get slapped with a fine.
That is an excellent analogy because it highlights the difference between theory and jurisdiction. And the source material we analyzed for this deep dive provides a stunning real-world contradiction that proves exactly why this local search is non-negotiable.
Oh yeah, this blew my mind.
If you try to use a global average, you will fail.
Let us look at the evidence.
Let us look at the guidance from the Nantou Environmental Protection Bureau.
Okay, Nantou.
Nantou is a county in central Taiwan. They put out a very clear, very strict press release emphasizing their rules for plastic containers.
And what did they say?
They stated that residents must remove non-plastic components like the caps, the straws, and the plastic labels from the main plastic containers.
Right.
Residents are required to sort these components separately to avoid contamination. They want the container stripped down to its base material before it goes in the bin.
Okay, that makes logical sense.
Yeah.
Strip it down, keep the primary plastic pure. The cap is often a different type of plastic than the bottle, right? Like high-density polyethylene for the cap and PE for the bottle.
Exactly.
So keeping them separate makes the baling process easier for the recycling plant.
It is a very sound strategy based on material purity. But if we cross-reference that Nantou rule with the official new Taipei City Recycling Tips infographic, the instructions are explicitly diametrically contradictory.
Wait, really? Contradictory how?
Yes. New Taipei City, which is in the north, tells its residents to empty their plastic containers, specifically detailing types 1 through 6, clean them out, and then recycle them with the lids firmly on.
With the lids on? Why would they want that?
The infographic clearly states, empty all plastic containers type number 1 to 6 for easy cleaning, then recycle with lids.
But why?
The rationale behind this usually comes down to micro-litter and sorting technology. Small caps, when loose, often fall through the grates of sorting machines.
Oh, because they're so small.
Right. Or they wash into storm drains and become ocean microplastics. By keeping the lid screwed onto the crushed bottle, the lid makes it all the way to the processing facility.
That is wild. Yeah. Nantou says take the cap off. New Taipei City says leave the cap on. It is the exact same island, the exact same type of plastic bottle, but totally different rules based entirely on municipal jurisdiction.
And it gets even more granular than just the physical preparation of the item. It also got down to timing.
The logistics of collection, right?
Yeah. Right. If we look at the daily information provided by the Office of International Affairs for Taichung City, they have specific guides for international guests, particularly those staying in the South District of Taichung.
Okay, what are the rules there?
Sorting there isn't just about how you recycle, but when you are legally allowed to put it on the curb.
Oh, I have seen these schedules. They can be incredibly complex.
Very. In the South District of Taichung, you can only recycle paper containers, plastic containers, and metal containers on Thursdays.
Thursday is the day.
Thursday is the day for those specific materials. If you have ordinary flat paper or glass bottles, those are collected on Mondays.
Okay.
And Saturday is a general day for all types of recyclables.
Man, imagine being an exchange student just arriving in Taichung. You do not speak the language perfectly yet. You have got a plastic water bottle and a glass juice bottle on your desk, and you're trying to figure out which day of the week it is just to throw your trash away legally.
It is a massive cognitive load, and this is exactly why a generalized AI memory fails.
It couldn't possibly know all that without looking it up.
Right. A generalized AI memory cannot navigate these municipal idiosyncrasies. If it tries to guess, it will mathematically attempt to give you a blended average of Nantu's cap rules, New Taipei's cap rules, and Taichung's scheduling rules,
Which would just be a mess.
The result will be a synthesized answer that is technically wrong in all three jurisdictions. Only a live, localized search query can pull the correct Thursday schedule for the South District of Taichung or the lids-on rule for New Taipei.
Which gives us our concrete action for Chapter 2. The viewer decision value is clear here. You must always command the AI to search your specific municipality in the prompt.
Absolutely essential.
Do not just type Taiwan or the United States or Europe. Type Nantu or New Taipei City. Give it the narrowest jurisdiction possible.
As specific as you can get.
And most importantly, this is the human verification step. When the AI generates the answer and provides the link, you have to actually click and open the cited official page.
You cannot just trust that the link exists. You have to verify its contents.
Exactly. Check the date on the web page. Check the governing authority at the top of the site. Make sure the AI didn't pull a defunct archived web page from 2015 when the city had different contracts.
Verifying the source link is the only way to ensure the search tool actually performed the live retrieval task you requested, rather than, hallucinating a fake URL and falling back on its internal memory to generate the text.
All right, this brings us to Chapter 3. Turn the answer into a decision card. So, to recap our progress so far, we have forced the AI to only look at visible parts by sanitizing our photo.
Yep.
And we have forced it to search local rules by mandating localized web retrieval. We have good data, but the problem we run into now is output format.
Right. The user interface problem.
Exactly. If you ask an AI a complex question with multiple components and local rules, its default behavior is to write you an essay.
They love to chat.
They really do. It naturally wants to be helpful and conversational, so it gives you a flowing paragraph-style answer. Well, regarding your plastic cup, if you live in Taipei City, you should ensure that. Blah, blah, blah. It writes a novel.
Which is useless in the moment.
Totally.
Yeah.
That format is incredibly hard to read quickly while you are literally standing over a recycling bin in your kitchen holding a dripping piece of trash.
It creates cognitive overload at the exact moment you need clear binary instruction. You do not need a conversation. You need a directive.
Right. So our final proof object for this workflow is the decision card itself. We dictate in the prompt that the AI must format its response into a strict table. And this table features one uncertain row explicitly marked for manual review.
The causality behind this step, why a table works better than a paragraph, is actually fascinating from a computer science perspective.
Okay, tell us about it.
Converting a fluent paragraph-style answer into an auditable action table forces a structural shift in the AI's output generation process.
How so? Like, what is happening under the hood?
When an LLM writes a paragraph, its attention mechanism is focused on narrative flow and transitions. It wants to sound good.
It wants to sound human.
Right. And because of that, it can gloss over missing data by using vague language. It can just sort of skip over what it doesn't know.
Ah, I see.
But structuring the prompt to demand a specific table forces the AI to evaluate its own findings systematically, cell by cell, row by row.
That has to fill in the blanks.
Exactly. It cannot hide behind flowing rhetoric. If a cell requires a specific data point and the AI doesn't have it, the absence of data becomes glaringly obvious. The rigid structure forces compliance.
So in our reusable prompt, we demand 6 specific columns to build this table. Column 1 is component, what is the part?
Okay.
Column 2 is visible evidence, why do you think it is that part? Column 3 is local source, what is the municipal URL? Column 4 is preparation step, do I wash it, crush it, or remove the cap?
Got it.
Column 5 is confidence, how sure are you? And column 6 is human faces.
Right.
Check, what do I need to verify?
And each of these columns serves as a specific firewall against hallucination. They build upon everything we have discussed.
How does that map out?
Well, for instance, the visible evidence column links directly back to Chapter 1. It must state why it thinks a component exists based solely on the pixels in the photo. It grounds the AI in the visual reality.
Right.
The local source column links back to Chapter 2. It forces the RBA process to prove its work by providing the URL for each specific component.
But I think the confidence column is the absolute most brilliant part of this entire workflow.
It is a game changer.
This is where we flip the dynamic.
Yeah.
We force the AI to mathematically evaluate its own certainty and admit when it is stuck. Let us take the paper sleeve on a hot coffee cup as a real-world example.
Oh, that is a perfect test case for this prompt.
Right. If the AI looks at the photo and sees a brown sleeve around a cup, its baseline assumption is going to default to paper. Most sleeves are paper, right?
Usually, yes.
But we know from looking at the Taipei City Flat Waste Guidelines that paper is not always just paper.
Right. The Taipei City timetable for resource recovery is incredibly detailed. It has a very specific classification for what constitutes non-recyclable flat waste.
What do they count as non-recyclable?
It explicitly lists items like paper with a shiny surface, meaning paper that is coated with a thin layer of plastic film for waterproofing, as non-recyclable. It must go in the regular trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also lists composite plastic bags as non-recyclable flat waste.
So the AI processes the photo, it sees the brown sleeve, but because it is looking through a lens, it cannot possibly tell if that sleeve is pure uncoated paper or if it has a thin plastic film coating on the inside for moisture resistance to keep it from disintegrating when the cup sweats.
It just cannot know.
Right, because the AI cannot verify the physical texture or the microscopic layers, its internal confidence score drops.
And our prompt is designed to catch that exact drop in confidence. When the AI's certainty falls below a threshold because of visual ambiguity, it is forced to explicitly state low in the confidence column.
It has to admit it doesn't know.
And this low confidence automatically flags the human check column.
This builds an auditable safety net directly into the workflow. Instead of guessing, the AI is essentially saying, I see a brown sleeve. My local source retrieval says pure paper is recycled on Mondays, but plastic-coated paper is garbage.
But I am an algorithm.
Right. I cannot physically feel the paper to check for a slick plastic coating. Therefore, human, you must physically touch this and check this before acting.
It is a beautiful delegation of tasks. The AI does the heavy lifting of retrieving the complex municipal code, but it correctly delegates the physical sensory verification back to the human.
Which is exactly how it should be.
And this flexibility is absolutely critical because it aligns perfectly with the reality that local guidelines are constantly evolving. There is so much movement and innovation in sustainability right now. The rules change almost monthly.
It is true.
Yeah.
Look at the Taiwan Ministry of Environment's new initiatives. They just launched a program called the Rebag Matching Platform.
Yes, the Rebag Secondhand Bag Recycling Platform. This is a fascinating, highly localized initiative detailed in their April 2026 Major Environmental Policies Report.
How does that actually work? I saw the headline but didn't dig into the mechanics of it.
Well, the MOENV recognized that people accumulate massive hordes of reusable shopping bags.
Oh, I have so many of those.
Right, those canvas or thick plastic bags you buy at the grocery store when you forget yours, they just sit idle in closets.
Guilty as charged.
So the government is trying to channel those idle resources to places that need them, like business districts, traditional markets, and night markets. They want vendors to use these secondhand bags instead of giving out new single-use plastic bags.
That is really smart.
To facilitate this, the MOENV even provides official downloadable graphics so small businesses can easily set up low-cost recycling and distribution stations using something as simple as a repurposed cardboard box.
Which is an amazing grassroots initiative for the community. But it is terrible for a static AI. If an AI doesn't have live search enabled, or if it isn't forced to evaluate local rules column by column, it might completely miss this. It might tell you to just throw your extra reusable bags into the regular textile recycling bin, entirely missing a massive, highly specific local reuse initiative that the government is actively promoting.
Or consider another corporate initiative, the Family Mart Circular Cup Alliance.
Right, I read about this. This is their push into reusable infrastructure.
Exactly. By the end of 2023, Family Mart had rolled out reusable coffee cups to over 1,500 locations across Taiwan. And they didn't just do it alone. They built an alliance, collaborating with other convenience store chains and beverage brands.
The interoperability is the coolest part of that. You can borrow a cup from one brand store, drink your coffee on the train, and return the cup to an entirely different brand store when you get to your destination.
It is a marvel of reverse logistics. They have to track the cups, usually via RFID or QR codes, collect them, transport them to centralized industrial washing stations, sanitize them to health code standards, and redistribute them.
It's a huge operation.
Now, imagine using a basic AI vision model on one of these cups. If you take a photo of a Family Mart circular cup, an AI using an outdated memory might just see a sturdy plastic cup.
It recognizes the shape, assumes it is single use, and confidently tells you to crush it and put it in the plastics recycling bin.
That would be a disaster. That would be taking a durable, reusable asset that is part of a complex, closed-loop system and destroying it by throwing it into the municipal waste stream.
Exactly. The AI has to be forced to prove its work, column by column, to catch these rapidly changing systems. If it searches the local data for a Family Mart circular cup, it will instantly realize it belongs in a return kiosk, not a recycling bin.
And that is why the format is so crucial. The viewer action here is to keep this specific 6-column prompt structure as a reusable template.
Yes, save it.
Save it in your Notes app, pin it to your desktop. Every time you have a confusing package, a new type of bioplastic, or a weird composite material, you paste the template into the GPT web interface, you attach your carefully sanitized photo, and you get a clean, safe, easily readable table that guides your decision.
It fundamentally transitions the user from being a passive recipient of AI, guessing, just doing whatever the chatbot says, to an active auditor of AI reasoning. You become a partner in the process, not a subordinate.
That is a great way to frame it.
Okay, that brings us to Chapter 4, recap of the evidence chain. Let us just quickly trace the actual objects we created in this workflow to prove that this system works. First, we created the sanitized photo, no background, no faces, no receipts, just the object, isolating the visual data.
Sure.
Second, we generated the separated component inventory, breaking the cup down into 5 distinct physical parts, so the AI cannot hallucinate the object as a single entity.
Check.
Third, we forced the local municipality search links, connecting those physical components to real, current jurisdictional laws.
Right.
And finally, we generated the 6-column decision card, the table which forces the AI to systematically show its work and declare its confidence level.
Which leads directly into Chapter 5, Final Human Verification. This is the brief but absolute boundary of this entire process. We must reiterate the ultimate safety limit of using these tools. GPT and other AI models can and will misread images.
It is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when.
Exactly. Shadows can look like solid objects. Clear plastics can look like glass. Water droplets can obscure text. Furthermore, municipal rules shift rapidly based on budgets, new contracts, and new sorting technologies.
The ground is always shifting.
The AI is a powerful tool to organize the decision, to rapidly fetch the dense bureaucratic documents, and to structure the logic into a readable format. But the human being standing over the bin must verify the uncertain rows before throwing the item away.
You are the final executive decision maker. The AI is not your boss. It is just your very fast, slightly overly confident research assistant.
Precisely. Never treat an AI output as binding municipal, legal, or safety clearance. It is an augmentation of your reasoning, not a replacement for it.
Okay, let us bring this all home. Here are your 3 takeaways for today's deep dive. First, split the object into visible parts. Never ask an AI to evaluate a complex package as a single item. Break it down.
Right.
Second, bind every local claim to an official source. If the AI doesn't give you a clickable link to your local environmental bureau, delete the answer and try again.
Do not trust it.
And third, keep one human check for uncertainty. Use that 6-column table to force the AI to admit what it cannot physically see or touch.
Those 3 steps completely change the dynamic of how we interact with these visual models. It takes them from being parlor tricks to being an actual utility tool.
They really do. And there is so much more to explore in how we integrate these tools into our daily lives. Subscribers get one new everyday AI workflow each week with a reusable prompt, a proof object, and a human verification checklist.
It is all about building reliable, verifiable systems for everyday problems.
Exactly. AI Everyday Lab, like, subscribe, share, and turn on the bell. For more everyday AI workflows with reusable prompts, source link proof, and a human check, follow AI Everyday Lab. Please like, subscribe, share, and turn on the notification bell.
And as you think about how we sort our waste today, consider this. Next time you buy a piece of consumer tech wrapped in a supposedly 100% biodegradable new wonder material, ask yourself, is the local sorting AI of the future going to know what to do with it? Or are we just inventing entirely new, highly advanced ways to confuse the system and contaminate the earth?